In today's video, we discuss where you should be before you start a contest prep. Okay, I'm done. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Rebella from ProPhysique.com, and I'm here with one of my top prep coaches of ProPhysique, Steve Beaugrand.
Hi guys.
The master of exercise science, the Science with Steve guy. But today we're going to talk about something a little bit different, Steven.
Yeah.
It's that time of the year where we start thinking about contest prep.
Oh man, that's such a heavy thing to think about.
Well, I'm excited because we've got some amazing competitors. We've been, getting experience and really working with some amazing people over the last, well, for me, a decade. But for many of us, it's been several years now, but we've been focused on competitors like Steven here. And so what I want to talk about is where you should be as a person, as a competitor, before you start the process of dieting down for contest prep. And I love Steve's experience in this because he brings kind of two facets. He's got both the science and he's got the experience of coaching competitors. So I brought him in. We're going to talk about it. And the first thing we want to talk about, how long it's been since your last show. So what are your thoughts on that?
Very important. So we want to make sure that we're taking as long outside of the diet as we are putting in inside of the diet in terms of our contest preparations. We all know that have been through contest prep. It's very, very intense. It's time consuming. It's life consuming. We're counting everything we eat, everything we drink, every step, every exercise, every rep. It's a lot of work. So not only can it be super beneficial to get us re-inspired psychologically to take just as much time off and out of season, right? But it's definitely a huge benefit in terms of physiological response as well. Remember, our metabolisms are adapting to being lower on calories, to being higher on energy expenditure over time. So if we don't allow the body to have time away from that diet, we can find that it can be very difficult to get that loss in body fat as we proceed forward through that next dieting phase.
Yeah, I think it's very common for those of us that compete for the first time to get so excited by the process that we kind of forget about how difficult it is on our bodies and minds going through the process. So our basic rule of thumb, and this is something I share with all my pro physique coaches, is that you should be out of prep at least as long as you were in prep, and preferably quite a bit longer if you need to put on more muscle, which we'll get to in a second. All right, Coach Steve, what do you think is a good place to be for cardio before you start a prep?
Right, so what I tell all of my clients is my preference is about an hour or less of cardio. Granted,
a day?
A week. A week. Yes.
I laugh, but that's a real concern.
It is a real concern. I've had clients come to me that have been doing 18 hours of cardio per week and maintaining weight. So it's something we want to keep in mind. Now, there's definitely some wiggle room there depending on your circumstances, but if we're doing 3, 4, 5 hours of cardio a week, and we're doing that specifically for weight maintenance / weight loss, we're probably not going to be in the best spot to have a lot of tools in the toolbox to utilize in terms of energy expenditure to facilitate that we keep losing body fat to get to that stage lean composition.
Yeah, so there is a balance here. Some of us are busy. Our lifestyles, our jobs, our careers demand that we move a lot. So if your calories are offsetting that movement, then you're fine. But if you're having to do lots of cardio with low calories just to maintain where you're at, entering a contest prep is most likely going to be very difficult. Speaking of calories, Steve, where would you like the calories of a client to be before we start restricting them to start a prep?
Absolutely. Nice, easy recommendation here. If you pay attention to pounds like us here in the States, you're going to be looking at 13 to 15 times your body weight in calorie intake per day. Anything over 15 is gravy.
Bonus.
Absolutely phenomenal. So that way we know, again, tools in the toolbox, right? We want to make sure that we have calories to cut from in order to facilitate that deficit, in order to facilitate that we're getting shredsies, bruh. So we just want to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success. And part of that is having a calorie intake where we're maintaining weight at this calorie intake that is going to be at least 13 to 15 times your body weight.
Yeah, and if we're talking about kilograms, we get this all the time. So that's somewhere between 26 and 32, I believe.
Yeah, 26, 32, 33-ish.
Yeah, so those are the numbers that we're looking at for, again, these are just baseline numbers. But just like cardio, let's say you're super sedentary and you're only on 13 times your body weight in calories. Well, we might be able to just make you move more to get some weight loss going. So again, these are just staples, things that we look for that are indicators that, hey, you know what? This is going to be a successful contest prep. Number 4 is probably the thing that I really never paid attention to when I first started coaching. Okay, we would look at the raw data, the numbers, the how many calories, how much cardio, how much working out are you doing. But the thing that I think is probably the biggest change in coaching that I've done over the last couple of years is looking at life stress. So let's talk about some of the life stress that we probably want to avoid during a contest prep.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're the ones you would really think of. So making sure that we're financially secure, right?
Yes.
Obviously, that's going to be important since prep is a very expensive process for the vast majority of us. I think it's expensive for dudes. Like, multiply that for the ladies out there. It's much more expensive for you. So making sure that we're financially sound and stable and in a good place there is going to be really important. Some things to maybe avoid if we can. Moving. Right? New jobs, that can be a big life stressor. Now, making sure that, hey, are we getting married? Right? That's another big one. A lot of stress. Like,
hey, good news, you're safe.
But making sure that we're planning ahead and we say, hey, what's our life going to look like throughout this prep? What do we have planned or that we can foresee? Obviously, there's always going to be unforeseen circumstances. There's always going to be things that are going to pop up like, woo, hey, guess what? Stress. And we have to do our best to manage those. But making sure that we're going to be in a good place to minimize stress throughout the process is going to help us to have, again, better results.
Yeah, don't add to the stress of prep by being in a stressful situation. Avoid, if you can, things like planning a prep around a wedding. Sometimes we can't avoid changing jobs or moving or financial stress. That's just a part of life. But try to put yourself in a position to compete at a time that works well for you. Maybe you're just avoiding family stress. Maybe you have a family trip. Maybe your kids have some events going on. Maybe you don't want to plan to be competing or deep into prep around those times.
Yep.
And we'll finish this off with another very common question I get from beginners, and that is, how much muscle should I have before I start a contest prep? And there are many ways to look at this, but I think Steve and I have discussed what I feel is the best approach. So why don't we talk about it, Steve?
Yeah, you'll never have enough muscle. We're all still small. End of story. Just kidding. So I think we're on the same page in terms of, like, you probably shouldn't put off competing forever. At some point, you have to pull the trigger. And maybe our beliefs on why that is or why we justify that might differ a little bit. But generally speaking, if we're super concerned with how much muscle we're going to have, at some point it is worth it to go in and get the experience. There isn't a lot of benefit to be had by spending years and years of your life investing into something that you don't know if you truly love or even like. You can be fit, you can be healthy, you can get stronger and do all those things without ever competing. So definitely, I encourage people, have realistic expectations. Yes, get on that stage. Know that we might not have as much muscle as they're looking for to fill out to be highly competitive. But that does not mean that there is not a lot to be gained from the process of competing.
While you may not have as much muscle as is necessary for what you see in pictures and videos, understand that when you go to a competition, they often have a first-timers division, people that have never competed, the novice division. If you're a master's, they have age divisions for 40, 50, 60. So all of this allows us to get on stage and enjoy the process, knowing we're going to fit into a category. Now, what you learn in prep, things like time management, goal setting, how to set and achieve goals throughout this process, I promise you, if you love the process and the sport, the most progress you are ever going to make is after your first contest. One of my kind of regrets in life is that I waited until I was 32 to compete. Yes, I had plenty of muscle. I had been working out for 14 years, but the year after I competed was my best year ever for training, for nutrition, for consistency. Why? I had learned so much, learned about nutrition, learned about how to train properly, and I was super motivated. Why? Because I had this goal now of getting back on stage, being a better version of myself. So yes, you need to have some muscle, but don't feel like you need to look like someone that's ready to win an overall at a big show right away. Enjoy the process, enjoy the climb. All right, guys, well, listen, if you're interested in learning more about contest prep, hit that subscribe button because Steve and I are going to be doing videos all year. My man Steve has a fantastic channel. I'll link that below, and I'll put our Instagrams on here so you can follow us both, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.